invasion. Barbados had itself indicated that some 60% of material transmitted over the media should have Bajan and Caribbean content. Jamaica has never attempted any such restriction. United States soap operas continue to be very popular among Jamaica's young people, and the CNNization of Caribbean consciousness is a cultural fact. Non-English speaking countries all over the world would see the convention as a protection against English-speaking cultural standardization. But cultural indices comprise more than language. For one thing, the intangible heritage of a people comprise much nonverbal communication in the arts, in sports, in fashion, in diet, as well as in the mutating of standard languages of imperial masters into Creole tongues, created and crafted by the colonized and subjugated over time. It is to such heritage that places like St. Maarten and the Caribbean, of which it is a part, must turn for core cultural values, native born and native bred. Caribbean countries would therefore see the UNESCO Convention as a protection of their native born, native bred musics, from calypso and soca through zouk to reggae and dancehall. Haitians can feel secure about their merengue, as Cuba can of their comparsas and rumbas, not to speak of Brazil and her samba. And all of Northeast Brazil is Caribbean. It's where Europe and Africa met on foreign soil, and the consequences are very similar to those in the islands. These inventions by our own Caribbean people are the manifestation of cultural diversity in its most creative form that has given to the countries of the region the distinctiveness enjoyed on the world scene today, as the late St. Lucia Nobel laureate Sir Arthur Lewis long pointed out. Those who voted for the convention voted on the side of history, and I dare say, on the side of the foreseeable future. It is important for St. Maarten, despite its special circumstances, it's important that she should be on the side of history in order to go into the future. St. Maarten shares a similar position with the Cayman Islands, where Cayman-born citizens number less than the later arrivals who now tenant those islands since 1962, when they opted to remain as colonies of the United Kingdom, since they used to be wards of colonial Jamaica. The Anglophilic prejudices tend to take precedence over Caribbean and particularly Jamaican sensibility. And St. Maarten may well be want to stick with Holland rather may be faced with the agony of choice between Mother Holland and Caribbean sensibilities, which she shares with the countries surrounding her, following on 500 years of slavery, mercantile adventurism, European colonialism, and all the tensions that have accompanied those obscenities perpetrated on different coral and volcanic rocks in the Caribbean, but throwing up similar consequences. There are admittedly structural problems to the situation in St. Maarten. First, as a non-independent segment of a non-independent island, issues of jurisdiction loom large. Neither St. Maarten nor St. Maarten can, without the express permission of the metropole, be members of the Caribbean community, as Suriname now is. though the British Overseas Territories are associate members with Santo Domingo and Cuba as official observers. This matter of jurisdiction gives rise to immigration requirements, where other West Indians cannot enjoy freedom of movement, though the CARICOM members, on the recommendation of the West Indian Commission of some years ago, have waived work permits for academics, artists, and some special categories of skilled workers. And this is so especially since the CSME is in place, the CSME being the Caribbean Single Market and Economy Initiative. French Saint Martin and Dutch St. Martin citizens move freely from one part of the island to the other, I understand. And as surrogate members of the European Union should in any case enjoy free movement indefinitely, though it has been a homegrown privilege enjoyed by all native-born inhabitants of the island over time, though I gather it may now be in jeopardy. To lose this would be to lose an ancestral privilege, as well as to defy 21st century realities. A cultural policy for St. Martin will have to take such things into consideration while reaching out to the Caribbean, of which it is an integral part, not only because of geography, but on account of history itself. So, an appreciation in the light of that history of the Caribbean region is critical to a fuller understanding of St. Martin's contemporary realities and future challenges. For the Caribbean shares in the great drama of the Americas, whereby new societies are shaped, new and delicately tuned sensibilities are honed, and appropriate designs for social living are crafted through the cross-fertilization of disparate elements. The process has resulted in a distinguishable and distinctive entity called Caribbean, which makes it possible to establish a number of regional institutions sharing a common vision for socio-economic, political, and educational development. The process is intensely cultural. If St. Martin can understand it, it could lead her to finding a citizen-friendly route to cultural definition and self-discovery, the essence of a cultural policy. The understanding comes through in the interesting orientation one finds in the region among those who are not yet existing in the independence mode. The French Caribbean, which constitutionally is metropolitan France overseas, despite the marked cultural differences between Paris and Pointe-à-Pitre. The Netherlands Antilles, the British dependencies of Anguilla, Montserrat, Virgin Islands, Cayman Islands, and Turks and Caicos, now transformed into British Overseas Territories, the American dependencies of the US Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, despite Puerto Rico's Commonwealth status, and Bermuda, which of course is in a class by itself, are none of them willing to ask, or rather to risk, the agony of choice in becoming independent at this time. None wishes to be oil poor or debt rich, as some would deem post-colonial Trinidad and Jamaica respectively to be. But what they all seem to have in common, hence I suspect my presence here, is a full grasp of the power of cultural action, as Madam President pointed out, in affording a sense of place and of purpose to the inhabitants of their territory.